Barbara Payton's life. It's like something out of a Hollywood drama. She had that irresistible spark that caught Tinseltown's attention. But oh boy, her journey was filled with tragedy. She went from innocent to femme fatale in the blink of an eye. Her story's a mix of sweetness and bitterness that'll blow your mind. What's it about existing if not for living and being merry? But for Barbara Payton, it's more than just a life of merriment. It must be enjoyed to the fullest with all the good things it offers. I'm not sure, but this may just be the thought of this innocent girl when she set out to explore and enjoy her world, only to become a victim of circumstances. A beautiful actress with bodily magnetism would become a powerful force that players in Hollywood found irresistible. Of course, her actions led to the mother of all Hollywood scandals in 1951. Barbara Payton is the epitome of the proverbial sweet and sour lifestyle. This may not be a good assessment of this beautiful talent. With all I have heard about her, I could not help but feel absolute sympathy for such a delightful soul. Whatever Barbara Payton was thinking when she was swinging the pendulum of life with a wild lifestyle, I guess no one told her about the spherical nature of the earth. She would have known that what comes around also goes around. Just before I refresh your memory about this lovely lady, Payton unfortunately was immersed in highly regrettable circumstances that tragically ended her brief career in Hollywood and by extension her life in such a not too palatable manner. I've heard so many theories about living fast and dying young, but I'm still confused if Barbara Payton's case would be quintessential, since she met an ugly end at the age of 39. Barbara Payton's issue is even more painful considering the terrible state of her body when the police authority recovered her remains after her death. I heard that it took about 48 hours before the authorities could identify her body. Before that unfortunate demise, we heard lots of gory tales about her wayward life, which included but was not limited to excessive alcohol and related addiction, whereas 2 decades earlier Barbara Payton had begun a glamorous journey as an angelic Hollywood starlet. In between her short-lived career, Barbara Payton was a sensational leading lady, co-starring famous Hollywood legends like James Cagney, Gary Cooper and Gregory Peck. Critics say the promising nature of her talent was such that the sky may just be her limit, but she threw her chance away by allowing social pleasure to take over her essence. Blonde and beautiful, with a strong libido and a wild fancy that got adventurous Hollywood men queuing to have a taste of her charm. I hear that the likes of Bob Hope, Gary Cooper, Gregory Peck, George Raft, and even Guy Madison, just to mention, take turns to warm her bed. At a point in her life, Barbara Payton's news became the selling point for major tabloids, as they used information about her scandal to achieve sales. As much as I can remember, Barbara Payton was at the peak of her Hollywood career in 1950, but when she broke the unwritten Hollywood rules by extending her romantic rascality to the wrong lover, her career spiraled downward. Barbara Payton was just about 27 years when her career moved from a $10,000 weekly Warner Brothers pay to absolute impoverishment and decay. Is it true that her situation was so despicable that she began turning tricks for $5 on Sunset Strip? Sadly, this beautiful lady is no longer with us, but her name would ever be linked to Tom Neal and Francho Tone. The 2 men were part of what is known as Barbara Payton's love triangle that led to the historic 1951 Hollywood scandal. Unfortunately, this magnificent American actress is very famous not because of the number of Oscars she won, but for her tempestuous social life and scuffles with alcoholism and related addiction. From all indications, Barbara Payton was a decent little girl very early in life, although she understood so soon how to take advantage of her beauty to get what she wanted. No thanks to her parents, who were more concerned with the wine bottle than ensuring that their daughter at least completed her high school education, the reason she left school to get married at age 16. Her trouble started the moment she decided to add adventure to her life by abandoning her role as a housewife for a more glamorous Hollywood fame. That was how sultry she was as a young beauty. Born Barbara Lee Redfield in Minnesota sometime in 1927, Payton's parents, Irwin Lee and Mabel Redfield, are Norwegian immigrants that operated a small-scale ice cream and eatery shop in Minnesota. Her parents later moved to Texas, where her father, though hard-working, was somewhat estranged from his kids and entrusted huge family responsibility to her mother. Both husband and wife had a bad urge for alcohol, which became a source of conflict in the family. Little Barbara Payton was living in a world of her own, with little or no parental supervision. And around age 11 she was already popular among the young men in the neighbourhood because of her stunning beauty. Her mother did not see anything wrong in how her daughter combed around the area with reckless abandon. Rather, she took pride in her beauty. I hear that teenage Barbara had a talent for creating beautiful objects from scratch, and was excellent in history and English with her academics. All that was left behind when teenage passion took over her. How, you might be asking? 16-year-old Barbara Payton did something her type of expressive teenage beauty would do. She eloped with her high school boyfriend, identified as William Hodge. Expectedly, the rebellious move did not go down well with her parents, but Payton was hell-bent on proceeding with her romantic life. Not too long after, she quit high school completely and decided to grow up faster than her age. Barbara Payton's marriage with her childhood sweetheart hit the brick wall when the teenage passion left their eyes. Soon she met and fell in love with decorated combat pilot John Payton, who became her second husband. The couple relocated to Los Angeles, but Barbara Payton's restless nature was not ready to be in a confined housewife setting. Not too long she moved into modelling. Ambitious Barbara Payton hired photographers to showcase her fashionable magnificence. She got the attention of a California-based designer who gave her a modelling contract, and in no time her image flooded Hollywood through print advertising. At this time Barbara Payton had her son. Although she was able to combine motherhood and her profession, few signs showed that her marriage with John would soon come to an end, and sometime in 1948 the couple separated, though she retained his name. Critics say her strong drive, occasioned by her energetic persona and beauty, was enough to set her up for fame. Her disrepute as an incandescent, frivolous party girl in the Hollywood club scene is not part of the things that puzzled William Gertz of Universal Studios when he brought 21-year-old Barbara to the studio payroll. The first shock came when Barbara lost custody of her son to John because the court thought that she exposed the little boy to profane language, immoral conduct, notoriety, unwholesome activities, with no moral education provided. When Barbara Payton met and began an affair with actor Francho Tone, he was just an additional number in the long list of men that had seen her bed. Just as many more were lurking behind, waiting to take their turn. But Francho went on to announce that he was engaged to her at a party in New York City. By this time she was alleged to have bedded all her Hollywood leading men she had worked with in the movies. While the gossip may not be true, Barbara's infamous lifestyle as a party girl was enough red light for Francho. His friends and colleagues would not approve of his marriage with Barbara. Even his ex-wife, Joan Crawford, who probably still cared for him, tried to discourage him from proceeding with her. But for Barbara it's nothing to worry about, because being engaged did not discourage her from partying and her usual fickle activities. This was why Barbara did not hesitate to start an illicit affair with her married co-star Guy Madison in 1951, after working with him in Drums in the Deep South. By this time an infatuated Francho was still under her spell, had contracted a private detective to spy on her. He may have gotten a tip-off that Barbara had welcomed a strange visitor to her apartment and decided to appear in person. Spying across the street, Francho noticed that her companion happened to be Guy Madison. Reports say he waited until he could catch them red-handed. Minutes dragged by before he crashed into the apartment. "I'm going to marry her, are you?" he asked Guy Madison. Confused and embarrassed Madison replied involuntarily, saying, "I can't, I'm already married," and for angelic Barbara Payton, who had nothing to say about the scenario, she was said to have burst into laughter at the two men. That incident found its way to the press and added injury to Barbara Payton's already severed image in the public space. The incident, however, did not end her engagement to Francho, as their romance continued. By July of that year, Francho was on a business trip to New York when Barbara first met actor Tom Neal at a pool party. The actor seems like the Prince Charming that she's always wanted in her life. Tom's good looks and muscular build struck Payton like lightning. The rest becomes history, as she began a sizzling affair with him. At some point, Barbara Payton told the media that it was love at first sight. When she saw him swimming, she thought he looked so wonderful. She added that, in his trunks, I knew he was the only man in my life. Love is stupid, and once you decide to love, you have decided to be stupid, just like the scenarios that ensued between these Hollywood stars. Before we could say Jack Robinson, Barbara Payton proposed marriage to Tom and went on to break her engagement with Francho, although Francho remained under her spell because he kept coming to her. Along the line, Barbara got confused by the situation as she navigated back and forth between the two lovers, creating a unique love triangle that created an extreme hatred between the two men. She joined one against the other. It became a race against time, only a matter of time before the confrontation exploded, as it did on that fateful night at Barbara's apartment. I had to check through a chief to confirm the date. It was on the 14th of September 1951. Tom Neal, an ex-college boxer, vented his anger on Francho. He physically attacked and left him hospitalized in an 18-hour coma, plus various degrees of injuries, including a shattered cheekbone, fractured nose, and concussion. You're guessing right. Tom beat the living daylights out of him. The media was awash with the scandal, with public sympathy favouring Francho against Tom because of his boxing background. Unfortunately, that ugly incident happened to be the end of the road for Barbara Payton, as her Hollywood career was on the line for a crash, without any sympathy for a lady already labelled by the media as Hollywood's bad blonde. The same fate awaited Tom Neal, as their stories became the fastest-selling news commodity that year. Critics agreed that it is either they take a bow from the industry or Hollywood would retire them immediately because of the shocking reports of the incident that became the banner of national dailies. Absolute remorse or just a feeling of guilty? Barbara Payton decided to pick up from her broken place. She chose to go back to Francho and honour his engagement. If you think love is an easy thing to forego, I beg you not to fall under a love spell from the likes of attractive Barbara Payton. I'm saying this because one would have thought that the beating Francho received from Tom would have reset the brain cells that controls love and emotion and free him from her charm, but it never did. Much to everyone's surprise, Francho, who was still recuperating from his injuries, was seen in Cloquet, Minnesota, Barbara Payton's hometown, exactly 2 weeks after the incident, taking marital vows with the love of his life. Yes, you heard me right. Francho Tone went on to marry Barbara Payton on the 28th of September 1951, but that was not the end of the story. I guess no one told him that if it's not working in a dating relationship, there's no guarantee that it's going to work in marriage. Just 2 months after, the young family was in the news again, because very lovely Barbara Payton is like a lioness that cannot be tamed. I guess she just wanted to follow her heart and enjoy the beautiful things that nature has provided for her, but societal forces were pulling her away from her joy. If not, how can one explain the fact that she went back to the same lover? I can't say how I felt when I learned that the cause of the fresh crisis is because she rekindled her romance with Tom Neal. Francho immediately filed for a divorce and used unambiguous photographs to prove his reason for the divorce. He also maliciously sent dozens of images of Barbara in compromising positions with Tom to the leadership of major Hollywood studios to ensure that Barbara never worked with them again. All the hullabaloo implies that Payton and Tom's relationship destroyed their Hollywood movie careers. Tom and Barbara took a vacation to Europe and returned 5 months after. She told her fans that Tom is now her manager. They took advantage of the already prevalent disreputable press coverage in 1953 to start tours in theatres like The Postman Always Rings Twice play, which is a stage version of the 1946 film. Tom and Barbara's collaboration saw them appearing in Great Jesse James' Raid that same year. That movie was a B-movie western that got less attention in theatres. Barbara Payton shifted her focus to English movies and later co-starred in 2 low-budget films for Hammer Productions. Not too long after, Payton told fans that she and Tom were getting married in Paris, but that marriage never happened because the duo broke up their engagement months after. Things went from bad to worse for this beautiful lady. Her conduct became more and more erratic as she took to drinking, and was soon arrested for public drunkenness and other regrettable behaviours. I heard that Barbara Payton paid $1,000 to a ghostwriter for her memoir that she released in 1963 titled I Am Not Ashamed. She died at her parents' home in 1967. Barbara Payton's life was a wild ride of fame, fortune and scandal, but as they say, there's no business like show business. Up next we have a tale of another Hollywood icon, Dennis Hopper, who was known as the evil god of Hollywood.